I'm very well, thank you. Now, maximizing the use of the internet, I would have thought that in a time like this, everybody pretty much knows what to use the internet for and how to use it well, but it doesn't seem to be the case.
That's very true, David. That's very true. Hello, David?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Right, so the whole idea behind today's conversation is to find how we can leverage the internet aside from using it for what we normally use it for. So if you come to Ghana, the default is that if I'm going to the internet, I'm either going to Google, I'm either going to Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and the first sites that come into your mind. Actually, there was that said that in Africa, for the few that are connected, most of them consider the internet as Facebook. And so I think that it's important that today we look at what else we can use the internet for.
Okay. Fantastic. All right, so let's get right into it. What else can we use the internet for apart from Facebook?
All right, David. So I would like us to look at 5 areas in our lives, right, so that we can maximize the use of the internet. So the first area in our lives could be studying. So I have created a list of platforms and different ways that we can leverage the internet for studying. There's a concept now known as the steady web. And what it essentially is different people from across the internet coming together to study together. So the most popular one by default is YouTube. People have live streams on YouTube and they'll be studying for hours and you just join them and you are studying with them. It's a way to keep you focused and not distracted. But there are actually other platforms that you can use as well for that. We have something called Study Stream Live. Okay? So it works just like, studying live on YouTube, but it's a dedicated platform for you to go and study with others. So you are streaming other people studying, and it's almost like you have a study partner.
Oh, wow.
Yes. But for those of us in this part of the country or Africa where internet stability might not be so great, we can also leverage study rooms instead of live videos to study. So we have chat rooms for studying. And good examples can be Meet Chat and ChatZ.
Okay.
So when you go to, yes, David. So when you go to these platforms, it's almost like an interactive room where everyone is studying and you can bounce off conversations and ideas. Then we have something like whiteboards, right? Okay. So whiteboards are essentially like what you have at City, your e-learning sessions that you have on City. Okay. So there's a teacher who has a whiteboard. He can write on the whiteboard whilst he's teaching you, and you'll be able to follow back and forth. Sometimes you as the students can also write on the whiteboard. So you can have examples like Scribblink.
Okay.
And real-time board. In Ghana, we are fortunate to have something like eCampus as well.
Yeah.
And then finally, we have places where you can have virtual meetings. So if you are in the university and you're looking for a study group, and because of COVID, you are not able to meet physically, you can always go to study rooms like Scribbler and meetings. Of course, we have the popular one like Zoom, which we are using now. So let's not belittle that one as well.
Yeah, fantastic. So aside from studying, is there anything else?
Yes. So we've looked at studying. Let's look at something more spicy like relationships.
Okay, that's always a good one.
Okay, so for relationships, I think that the default obviously is social media. So we have Facebook, Twitter, but I think that even with these tools, we can actually hone in on them and look at more niche ways of strengthening these relationships. So on Facebook, for instance, we have Facebook groups, and you can attend special sessions on these groups. Also on Twitter, we have something called Twitter lists, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So on Twitter lists, yes, you can put together, let's say, all the influential journalists in Ghana, and you can always follow what they are talking about. You can also have now what we call spaces. So it's Twitter's own version, exactly, Twitter's own version of Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Exactly. And these help you to have more intentional conversations. So personally, I'm part of groups on Clubhouse that talk about spoken word, because I'm interested in spoken word technology, etc. And then to keep it even more spicy, if you're looking for like relationships, we have special platforms for Africans to meet each other. So we have something called Afro Introductions. That's where you can meet other Africans from across the globe. And another one called Truly African. Yes. So
and is this on Twitter Spaces or is this on Clubhouse?
Right. So for Afro Introductions and Truly African, these are dedicated websites that you can go and find people. Exactly. There are others, but as long as you Google, you find them. I just want us to be aware of all the possibilities that the internet has for us. Right? So we've looked at studying, we've looked at relationships. Now let's look at something like recreation and traveling.
Okay.
Right. So for me, my favorite places to go on the internet for recreation and traveling, especially for Ghana, is travel blogs. So in Ghana, we have some people doing amazing things when it comes to traveling. And you'd be surprised, there are some waterfalls that are just close to us that we don't even know about.
Yeah.
So some popular travel blogs are Nomadic Majua. She has an amazing travel blog.
Yeah,
she's always saying
she's incredible. Yeah, some pretty amazing.
Yes, okay. So for you to know her, David, that means that she's doing a great job. And not only that, we also have one centered on Africa itself, right? So we have other people like Just Rioba and then She's Tuma. So these are more for Africa travel.
Okay.
And I think that, yes, as Pan-Africanists, the best thing to do is to first travel within your country and within the continents before you even dream of going outside, right? So these places should give us a great idea of where to go. And then, David, it turns out that we do have popular sites like Airbnb operating from Ghana. I think that some people don't know about this. I was speaking with some friends recently, and they didn't know that they could even go to a random city and sleep in a guest house or someone's house.
Yeah.
So with Airbnb, you can do that, right? And then, of course, if you want to get more insights, you can look at something like TripAdvisor for hotels. And then there's something called Google Flights. So Google Flights will allow you to find cheap flights and you'll be able to save some money.
Impressive.
Okay. Yes. So we've looked at studying, relationships, recreation, and travel. Now we can look at health.
Okay.
Right? And I always like to point us to what Ghanaians are doing in the space before we even look outside. So there's an amazing startup called Trimester Save.
Okay.
And they help pregnant women be able to save before they give birth. So by the time you are due, you have saved enough money to take care of your prenatal and antenatal.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I think they're doing amazing. They recently raised some funds and they are supported by some banks in Ghana. And then we have, of course, platforms that you can talk directly to doctors. So in Ghana, we have an example, My Care Ghana, among other platforms. I'm sure you can find them when you Google them as well.
Okay.
Right. And then finally, because this is not even my forte, I like to use the internet to find where I can get fashion tips. So because I'm a techie, I used to dress like a techie. But now thanks to the internet, I'm able to find ways to dress sophisticatedly like yourself. So by default, what we do is look on Instagram, right? And I don't belittle it. Now you can have amazing handles on Instagram where you can find different ways to dress. And then, of course, what you can also do is put together a Pinterest board.
Yeah.
So I have a Pinterest board of most of the fashionable platforms in Ghana and different ways to dress. So now I'm in a kaftan. I got the idea from Pinterest.
I see.
But what you can also do, what you can also do is visit the website of
All right, so we're speaking to Amishadai Ofori, who is a consultant in the business tech space, and he's helping us to understand maximizing the use of the internet. Now, of course, we've spoken about how to use the internet for study. We went on to talk through things like, of course, Google, Coursera, there's a Khan Academy. There are different websites that we can go and so on. There are virtual rooms, virtual meetings that you can have with Zoom, Scribbler, whiteboards, all kinds of things that are available online that you can use your internet in terms of studying, chat rooms for studying, and so on and so forth. YouTube, of course, YouTube is a big one. People learn, entire degrees online just through YouTube. Okay, then of course we went on to talk about relationships and building relationships, not just dating necessarily, but all kinds of relationships that we can build through social media. Facebook and Twitter being one of the most key ones, especially in Ghana. And of course, leveraging groups like Quora, chat groups like Quora, of course, online, Facebook groups for specific interests, Twitter lists. And with Twitter lists is actually very interesting for me because I hadn't thought about what he said, areas of interest, putting all the people in your areas of interest into a list, so that you can follow them as a list. That's quite an interesting one, which I would look to pursuing. And then of course Twitter Spaces too has become a new thing now. I don't know how long ago they started, but it's recent. But then Twitter Spaces is like Clubhouse, is like a version of Clubhouse. For those of you who are on Clubhouse, you know that they carry special conversations, dedicated conversations within groups, and people can contribute. Some people can be silent listeners, others can be speakers on the group, at any point in time that the conversations are going on. So that was a very good one there. And of course, you talked about recreation and travel. Talking about things like Airbnb. I remember the first time I had an experience with Airbnb right here in Accra. I was very surprised that even such a thing could exist, right in Accra, random house somewhere in a different area from where you live, and so on. So that was very exciting. Amishadai, I understand you're back. Can you hear me? All right, so before we're still trying to fix that. We'll get. Oh, there he is. Can you hear me? All right. So let's wrap it up for us. We're talking about fashion. All right, it looks like we're still having some technical challenges there. So let me continue with the summary of what we've done so far. Of course, we're talking about recreation and Airbnb. That was my fascination, the fact that you can actually have, it's almost like the Uber of housing, where you don't own it, but you can go stay there without any drama of, any long process and all that. Just online, you book it, you do your payment, you arrive at the house, and it's sorted. People are actually expecting you when you come, and all that. And for me, my experience was a good one, and I do believe that's Airbnb is something that's come to stay. Then, of course, there's TripAdvisor. Traveling is one of the places to, and Google Flights. I didn't know about Google Flights. That will give you access to cheap flights and all that. And of course, there's blogs in Ghana. He mentioned 2 blogs. Nomadic Majua blog, and like I said, she's one person that I follow, and her blogs are incredible. You know, the places she's traveled to, right here in Ghana. You know, and she just gives you a bird's eye view. In fact, one of the places that she went to that I got interested in, and I want to do that trip soon, is the Shy Hills Resort. You know, so the Shy Hills Resort is a good one. And then the other blog you can check out is Just Rioba. Just Rioba. Okay, that's a blog as well. So you can go check that out as well. And then we talked about health, where we're looking at Trimester Save, that helps women to put together a plan for saving and preparing for antenatals and the birth of the child. And then My Care Ghana is another one. Then finally, he went on to fashion. And so Instagram, of course, is a great place to boost your fashion sense and get ideas to, embellish your looks. And then, of course, Pinterest as well. So you can create a board on Pinterest that will, if you're doing into African fashion or whatever kind of fashion you have, it's easy to do that on a place like Pinterest. Well, thank you very much. This has been the Consumer Tech segment. And Amisha Dai was my guest this morning. We'll be right back after this. Don't go anywhere.